And tonight's main news again. Police in Belgium have discovered the bodies of 7 girls who appear to have been the victims of a paedophile ring. That's all from the newsroom tonight. Good night.
Good evening. Well, for many it was dry, sunny and hot today, all due to the influence of high pressure. But it's not going to be around for that much longer. This weather front's going to work its way in during the next 24 to 48 hours. And that's probably good news because many of us are experiencing poor television reception just at the moment. It's down to the high pressure. Don't bang your television sets. It won't go away until that weather becomes far more unsettled. Well, for tonight we will see some rain across western parts of Northern Ireland and northwest Scotland once again. Elsewhere, a dry, warm and a humid night. Temperatures around 14 to 15 degrees. Now, on Monday morning, we start with that cloud and rain in the west of Northern Ireland and also in northwest Scotland. Elsewhere, again, fairly dry and sunny. We will see some high-level cloud, though, pushing up across the West Country and Wales, and that could just give 1 or 2 spots of rain. As we go through to the afternoon, that could push up into northern England and also southern Scotland. At the same time, the unsettled weather will edge a little bit further out towards the east. All the time, those central and eastern areas of England staying dry, sunny and very hot. Late in the day, the unsettled weather again making inroads into the western side of mainland Britain, but elsewhere dry. Suddenly very hot, temperatures as high as 31 degrees again during Monday. Around the coast, though, refreshingly cooler. Bye-bye.
Monday night on BBC1, and at 9:30 it's all in the public interest.
We've got a much better show than this down at the station this afternoon, you know. Oh, it's a belter. It's all topped off with a public hanging of a dozen nosy neighbours. Can I interest you in a few tickets?
At 10:25.
They're shutting us down, Scully.
No!
I can't give up. Not as long as the truth is out there.
And at 11:10.
They're changing London town to Buenos Aires.
English football was just about to welcome 2 of the World Cup stars from Argentina.
Monday night on BBC1.
This week on Out of This World, captured on film the ghostly figure of a girl engulfed in flames. No ordinary man, a detective by day and psychic by night.
I'm reliant on those from the spirit world coming to communicate with me.
And I spend a night ghost hunting in Britain's most haunted hotel. Take a trip out of this world. Tuesday, 9:30 on BBC1.
Sir Colin Davis conducts the works of Sibelius and Strauss in a haunting and rousing Proms 96 at 10:45. First on BBC1, the final opus of Stephen King's chilling horror, Good and Evil Prepare to Face, The Ultimate Stand.
Clean, clear, like a flag flying over the record. Just near perfect.
We've only just begun. The public and private lives of the Carpenters.
We were born, I am convinced, to complement each other.
A lot of people thought they were husband and wife instead of brother and sister.
When you're squeaky clean, who knows what those shadows were in their closets?
Hear their true story and see them in concert. Next Sunday from 10:45 on BBC1.
From the heart of Scotland, BBC1 brings you an unrivaled spectacle of music, dance and drama. Over 700 performers from 3 continents present a magical pageant celebrating the legendary Robert Burns. Join a worldwide audience for the unforgettable Edinburgh Military Tattoo, Saturday, 6:05 on BBC1.
And now on BBC1, James Naughtie joins the European Union Youth Orchestra for a prom concert of Sibelius and Strauss.
Follow the history of Match of the Day through the 60s,
It's a goal!
the 70s,
Graham going in.
and the 80s.
Kenny Douglas!
In a new BBC video box set. All the best moments from 3 decades of BBC Television's football coverage, captured forever in a unique double cassette collection. And you can follow the exploits of your favourite clubs in a library of club videos. All from Match of the Day on BBC Video.
Sunday evening on BBC1, and at 7:15 they're back.
You think a bloke could get a bit of sympathy?
Sometimes
bloke needs a gentle female hand.
And sometimes a bloke needs a gentle female boot to bring him to his senses.
At 7:45, how high is the price of love?
Are you having an affair?
We love each other.
And what effect will that have on the business, Evie? That is all you ever think about, your precious House of Elliot.
At 8:40, birds of a feather.
So no AP from Fame. You look like Sylvester Stallone's mum.
Hello, Mr. Floyd?
Yes?
I've come to talk to you about your haunted trousers.
At 9:25, Screen 1, and Harry's in a bit of bother.
I've got to be quick, there's a couple of murderers in my flat.
You won't have time for a cup of tea, then.
Laughs, Love and Haunted Trousers for Sunday on 1.
And now on BBC1, Grand Prix snooker from Reading with the closing frames in the matches to find tomorrow's finalists.
Welcome back, and the final of the Rothmans Grand Prix here tomorrow will bring one man a nice cheque for £80,000. And in this programme, the two semi-finals to a finish.
Time is the main ball. Bonus last April. The all-important sixth ball tonight is number 43. Live sold out on the Mac and Mabel show. 10th time as the main ball. Bonus twice. Fancy a bonus? I can do you a 25. Tonight's lottery numbers in ascending numerical order. Number 8, number 20, number 26, number 34, number 42, and number 43. This week, the bonus, 25.
For you, pretty good out. Check out the Millionaire's Row very carefully. These numbers could make you the National Lottery's 200th millionaire. And thanks to my special guest tonight, Darren Day, and of course to Mystic Meg. Next Saturday, I'll be joined by Let Loose. And lottery lovers, if your luck didn't hold on to your luck, because there's always next week.
Sunday night on BBC1, and in No Bananas, celebrations are blighted by blackmail.
I think I'm being watched. Well, we are in a state, aren't we? Perhaps I should have asked for more.
Fun!
But the girls haven't lost their partying spirit.
His pelvis chased me all round the floor. Well, you were lucky. All I got was armpits.
And is John Cleese too old for Cupid's arrow?
I want you.
All right, I apologise.
That's Sunday night on BBC1.
And on BBC2 now, there's highlighted cricket play of the second one-day international between England and India.
He's back, and it's about time.
You're trying to tell me that you've come back from the dead.
A new face.
It's not often one has a Time Lord in one's living room, Doctor.
Meets an old master.
I always dress for the occasion.
Paul McGann is Doctor Who. Bank Holiday Monday on BBC1.
Thrusting forward now on BBC1 with some highly explosive material. In Bugs.
Sunday evening on 1, and Songs of Praise recreates a special Victorian Christmas. Then at 7:15, an old flame comes to see Lady Lavender.
Stay where you are. Just let me look at you.
Lavender!
No, Lady Lavender's over there.
At 8:05, join Des Lynam live for Sports Review of the Year and see who'll follow last year's winner as Sports Personality of 1991. Everyman at 10:05 travels to Yugoslavia. Not to cover the conflict, but in this country torn by civil war, a story of love, a forbidden and potentially dangerous love between a Serb and a Croatian. Sunday evening on 1.
And now, if we dare, let's take a look at what the weather holds. And we begin with a warning that there's dense freezing fog in southeast England, the Midlands, East Anglia and northern England. There's a widespread frost, which is creating hazardous conditions. And now onto the charts. Fog, dense in many places, will be widespread over England and Wales tonight, away from coastal areas. With temperatures well below freezing, driving conditions will be treacherous. Over Scotland and Northern Ireland, fog will be more patchy, and northwest Scotland will be windy with rain at times instead. Tomorrow the fog will gradually thin and clear from most places, although it will stay rather misty and cold. In some northern parts of England, the fog will linger all day with temperatures remaining below freezing. Western parts of England and Wales, together with Scotland and Northern Ireland, will have sunny intervals and a little rain in places. So, it's obviously not a night in which to venture out unless you really have to. There is an alternative, though, and that's to tune to BBC Radio, which provides entertainment throughout the night. On Radio 1, you'll find John Peel holding forth, while on Radio 2, Colin Berry has just saddled up for a frosty night ride. And, of course, the BBC World Service can now be received on Radio 4's long-wave frequency. From all of us here on BBC1, though, that, as they say, is a wrap, and wrap-up is what we're going to do as we disappear into the cold of the night. From me, David Miles, on behalf of everyone at the Television Centre, may I wish you a very peaceful night. Good night.
International football in 50 minutes. England's friendly against Hong Kong's Golden Select in Match of the Day here on BBC1.
From the creator of Rapsy Nesbitt.
The name Fraser Hood still carries some weight in this town.
So do the bags under your eyes.
Hard men.
You and me, now, by the cake stand.
In tight spots.
I care about you.
You do?
No, but it gave you a couple of seconds of happiness thinking it did, didn't it?
Facing tough situations.
Pencil and extreme violence.
Yes! If I get a note from me mum, can I be excused?
Bad Boys begins Wednesday, 9:30 on BBC1.
Dropped underwater.
Deep breath. That's when panic started setting.
Starved of oxygen.
How are you feeling, number 9?
Thrown into the open sea.
You're stuck in the middle of a bit of water going up and down about 10 foot a minute.
Would you give up your dream?
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant fun.
Flying Soldiers continues, Tuesday at 9:30 on BBC1.
Secrets and legends that surround the crystal skulls now on BBC1. Do they have incredible powers or are they ingenious fakes? Everyman explores the mystery that so far scientists have been unable to solve.
Saturday night on BBC1 and at 20 to 6.
We're the Three Amigos!
Steve Martin, Chevy Chase and Martin Short star in a tale of real men in the Wild West. At 7:20, Virgo's brought a friend.
This is a genius that writes my jokes. Laughing Dave Schwarzenegger.
The live lottery draw at 10 to 8 with an estimated jackpot of £8 million. At 8:05.
Can I see you again?
Sure you want to?
Business or pleasure in Casualty. At 9:15, an intruder with savage intent.
Operator, it's an emergency.
Freeze!
Killers don't wear name tags.
Cops do.
With a day's top football action at 10:45. That's Saturday night on BBC1.
The stuff of nightmares now on BBC1 in our psychic movie thriller. Be careful what you dream, it might come true. In Cassandra.
We're landing. Do you want to get out of the way?
Here he comes, Charlie Sheen, in A Man's World. With a mission in the air and a mission on the ground.
Seems no matter what I do, I end up hurting someone.
The network television premiere, Hot Shots, tomorrow, 9 o'clock on BBC1.
Be careful out there, Lieutenant.
I'll be just fine.
Take one Scot.
Here I am.
Give him a tent.
Anyone for camping?
Test his initiative.
I've been trying to build this damn igloo. It's fallen down and I'm fed up.
And abandon him in the Arctic Circle.
This is real snow as opposed to wind-driven apprentice kind of snow.
Billy Connolly is A Scot in the Arctic, Thursday at 9:30 on BBC1.
There's nobody here. There's nobody.
Behind the wheel, but out of control, John Cleese is a desperate man. BBC One's comedy film Clockwise, coming up in 15 minutes. The Boxing Day news now on BBC One with Justin Webb.
Tomorrow at 8, and the mob from the manor face a challenge with hot tips from the captain.
Is that good?
No.
2 60.
Round 2, punch drunk at 8:30. Bullseye.
Get a thumb ready.
1 in the eye, 2 on the telly. Tomorrow on BBC1.
Now the irascible Victor Meldrew and his long-suffering wife are back on BBC1 to confront life's problems with one foot in the grave.
They say I might as well face the truth, but I am just too long in the tooth. So I'm an OAP and weak need, but I'm not yet quite gone to seed. I may be over the hill now that I have retired, fading away, but I'm not yet expired. Clapped out, run down, too old to save, 1 foot in the grave.
A breakout from Brixton.
How many hostages?
The peace and quiet of suburbia shattered as 2 men are held on Cup final day, and the reception's not good.
That's great. Get on the blower to the bus. Tell him it's 20 cans of lager or the pigs get blown away.
The Detectives, Wednesday at 8 on BBC1.
And I'll have some quavers. On BBC2 now, Miranda Richardson explores the relationship between dance and royal power.
Victor's back tonight on BBC1.
See the wild man of Borneo's had another good day in the garden. Quicker using a trained lugworm at this rate.
Well, who got him in? Not me. I think he looks cute.
Cute? Never seen so much hair growing down someone's back in all my life. Blow dry his bottom every morning.
Comedy with 1 foot in the grave in half an hour.
Now on BBC1, it's time to take a break at the Rokeby household.
Yeah, it's me. Listen.
Well, over on BBC2 in a few moments, the classic spaghetti western A Bullet for the General, set during a turbulent period in the Mexican Revolution.
It's round one, and behind the numbers, some famous figures in sport are making a comeback. There's a cricketer hoping to make another great catch. There's a rugby player organising another line-out. And there's a commentator. Join them and a host of other sporting personalities for the new series of A Question of Sport, Tuesday at 8:30 on BBC1.
And now on One, it's football action with Bob Wilson.
Good evening. There's no doubt football still has universal appeal, and age is no barrier.
And the late film tomorrow is Tales of Terror from the master of horror, Edgar Allan Poe. Vincent Price, Peter Lorre and Basil Rathbone star at the stroke of midnight tomorrow.
What do I have to tell you? It's over and it's through. I don't want you around me anymore. Now, is that clear enough?
I spent 20 years building up my business. And no smart little broad from Pittsburgh is going to take it away from me.
Colombo, Sunday, 3:30 on BBC1.
Drama, new for 92 on BBC1. Introducing clairvoyant Gladys Moon and Son.
Well, we're a partnership. What's his is mine, and what's mine is mostly mine.
Taxicab troubles in Rides.
Hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking? You've only mentioned men. We do without them.
Passion in the Lake District. A Time to Dance.
I just wanted to be with him. I was sure I spoiled it. I mean, what must he have thought of me?
I was instantly in love.
And offbeat romance, Love Hurts.
You think you know everything about men, don't you?
Not everything, but I've got your number.
No, that's only my shop. Now, my personal line...
I've heard your personal line, and it's very predictable. Good night, Frank.
New drama, new for 92 on BBC1.
Paul Simon will be singing The Night Away in Central Park on Wales On 2 in 5 minutes. Here we've another gem from our festive collection, an award-winning comic fusion of English eccentricity, American brashness and a sprinkling of satirical Python genius. John Cleese, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline and Michael Palin star in A Fish Called Wanda.
In the first edition of Film 92, I'll be in California talking to Michelle Pfeiffer about her new film, Frankie and Johnny.
The professor from the college just stuck his hand up my skirt again. Okay. You poor old bump.
How mean have I got? I can get pretty mean. I can get pretty outspoken.
Let me freshen that up for you, sir.
I always like more.
That's very kind.
A Film 92 special. Michelle Pfeiffer, Tuesday, 10:25, BBC1.
Well, now on BBC1, to introduce this evening's star, here's Johnny Walker.
He was only an actor.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
He couldn't even remember his lines.
You idiot!
And he had some bad habits.
He's been at it again.
Now his acting career is nearly over.
Am I to understand that you are giving me notice?
Let's just say that the curtain has come down on yet another miserable performance.
And now Dr. Watson alone will solve the crime without a clue. Wednesday's film at 7 on BBC1.
Not this time, gentlemen.
Auxiliary power? Their joystick.
The entire panel's deader than A-line flares with pockets in the knees.
Danger for the Dwarfers, Thursday at 9 on BBC2.
And now on BBC1, we strike up the band.
Hi, I'm Alan Partridge. This week, TV finally steps into the 90s with a new kind of chat show. It's called Knowing Me, Knowing You with Alan Partridge. I host it. I'm Alan Partridge. Join me with my special guest, the Saint, Roger Moore. Roger Moore. This week.
Screen One presents A Breed of Heroes. Belfast, 1971.
Is somebody about to shoot us?
That's the aim, right, if we don't go down. Let me come to the point, Charles. Stones now, guns next.
I'm surprised with what I've seen of Belfast. It seems perfectly ordinary to me.
So, how come you're in the army?
I wanted to kill people.
Try dialing 999.
Me, Mark.
Oh, how very funny! Get me out of here!
Secret thrill of being alive.
Screen One, A Breed of Heroes. Tomorrow, 9:30 on BBC1.
Cricket rounds off Saturday night now on BBC1, and with the pick of the action from today's rain-interrupted final between Warwickshire and Worcestershire, here's Tony Lewis.
Next week in Commoners' Muck.
If there were out wrong with us, you'd tell me.
You don't fancy going out, do you?
Sorry to barge in.
I want me money.
Strength and a big body, Roberts. I can blow the lid on the whole thing.
They'll take advantage of us all. What's going to happen? Cancel the war, John. Kick one of us. They kick us all.
Commoners' Muck goes to the dogs. Next Wednesday at 9:30 on BBC1.
He wrote novels that took the world by storm.
It was Ivanhoe that really conquered Europe. It was enormously popular and fashionable.
He built a Gothic fantasy in stone.
He was building himself a stately home. It was an absurd undertaking.
He even reinvented the Scottish nation.
It's not an ancient Highland costume. It's just been made up.
Yet the writer who could count the King of England as a personal friend died a broken man. The Extraordinary Life of Sir Walter Scott. Omnibus Monday, 10:40 on BBC1.
The film on BBC1 at midnight is the story of Bruce Curtis, an innocent teenager who found himself caught up in a terrible crime, leading to a journey into darkness. Now on BBC1, Derek Jacobi heads a star cast in Breaking the Code, the true and tragic story of Alan Turing, the mathematical genius who became an unsung hero of the Second World War.
On the Preston front, Lloydie's lost his sight.
I'm sorry, mate. I've still got CS gas in my eyes. It's just slowing for light.
Hodge has lost his touch.
Bolton's little sister is a mad, violent 20-year-old.
Normally a bit more heartbroken than that, aren't they?
And Diesel's lost his taste.
What do you think you're doing? You all think he's a transvestite?
Senses working overtime.
Do you not listen?
On the Preston front, tomorrow at 10 on BBC1.
When a neighbourly dispute.
Let's just call it even money. I'll forget it if you do.
I never forget anything. Never. It's out of control.
Nice! I want to move.
Well, what happened?
You'd better make sure.
You want to stop me, man? Money. You got to do it man to man.
You know who you're dealing with.
Just keep out of my face!
Next door. Saturday at 9 on BBC1.
A standoff in wartime Germany now on BBC1 and a powerful dramatisation of true events. George Segal and Robert Vaughan star in The Bridge and Remagen.
Christmas movie magic on BBC1.
Nobody is gonna hurt you now.
We are talking about fate.
I'm not Roman. Don't you walk away from me!
You still killed her, didn't you?
Dead Again, Christmas Eve, 10 o'clock. Stephen Milner.
I record your case.
For all your legal needs.
And when you finish, you just lean across and tap me on the hand, you see. And that way we bypass the conscious mind.
A simple man.
It always used to amaze me that
you became a successful solicitor.
With a complicated client.
I employ him to defend my interests. You don't ditch clients on the basis of personal distaste. Okay? Then I'm not, dear. What as I said, I'm a solicitor.
Mel Smith is Milner, Monday at 9:30 on BBC1.
The scariest edition ever of The X-Files slots into BBC2's Weird Night in a few minutes. This is BBC1. Before Match of the Day, here's an update on today's National Lottery draw. The 6 winning numbers are confirmed as 3, 5, 9, 13, 14 and 38, and the bonus number is 30. Preliminary indications are that there are 2 jackpot winners, each winning an unconfirmed £3 million. In an hour from now on BBC1, highlights of the World Championship Golf from Jamaica after Match of the Day.
The government seek to hide it.
Are you accusing these men of covering evidence? It's something the government would kill for.
He is trying to erase it.
The lies are so deep. What did you have me cover up? The only way to cover them is to create something even more incredible.
And they're out to expose it.
What's in this rock we intercepted are answers beyond the existence of extraterrestrial life.
Whatever's in that rock, it appears to be lethal.
Now truth has a new enemy.
He set me up.
You're a liar.
The only lie here is the one that you continue to believe.
The X-Files. Tomorrow at 10 on BBC1.
Side by side, hand in hand, Nigel Havers joins Dangerfield, Friday at 9:30 on BBC1.
There are features on forthcoming BBC programmes in the new Radio Times, which also contains complete listings for all television and major satellite channels. Moving film drama based on a true story now on BBC1 as Leonard Nimoy fights to remind mankind of one of its darkest hours.
I'd like to tell you a story I heard the other day. There I was in my local.
When in walked the captain of the local cricket team.
He was not a happy bunny.
Because recently the form of the team has been utter rubbish.
And their next fixture was a jolly important local match.
Against their
bitter rivals, Codford sent... excuse me, St. Rupert.
So the captain decides to put an advert
in the window of the local shop.
That's person wanted.
Well, a month goes by and he's heard... Niente!
And the captain's getting into a bit of a tizzy.
When, out of the blue, there's a knock at his door.
And in walks a dirty great horse.
Horse!
I understand you're looking for some new blood,
said the horse. And the captain's gobsmacked.
But you're a horse! I know, replied the horse.
But actually, I'm really rather nifty with the old Willie. Why not give me a go?
Well, what did the captain have to lose?
So, that Sunday...
the whole village turns out to support their team, which was nice.
Needless to say...
their performance is as dismal as usual.
With only 2 overs remaining, they need
37 runs.
To avoid another humiliating defeat.
When from the pavilion...
Sachet's the new number 11 batsman. Nice.
But unfortunately for him, Big Bernard Armstrong, the village bear,
Blacksmith,
is next to bowl.
And he sets off on his run-up
and hurls down a vicious delivery.
And the horse thumps it right at the ground.
And the next 5 deliveries?
6!
1 over left and only 1 run needed
To seal an historic cricketing victory.
The crowd is now on tinterhooks.
Because facing the bowling
Is young Cuthbert O'Toole.
A right little weed.
how he survived the first 5 balls.
Nobody knows.
But he survives.
And as the final ball is bowled...
He shuts his eyes and...
swings with all his might.
And just clips the ball with a fluky thick edge.
and O'Toole sets off up the wicket for his winning run.
But to his horror, the horse doesn't move.
O'Toole shouts, "Run!"
But still, the horse doesn't move.
And from the pavilion, the captain bellows.
Run! Run!
Run! Yet still the horse doesn't move.
And the crowd lining the pitch scream...
Run!
And the horse looks up,
Raises an eyebrow and says...
Me? Run? Do me a favour?
If I could run, I'd be at Haydock
Ruddy Park.
It's a bad one, isn't it? It's a steamer. It's a stinker.
The BBC have always attempted to make you laugh, and will continue to do so whether you like it or not.
Run, run, run like the wind.
Breaking new ground now on BBC1, the force that travels light.
Well, you can chat live right now to the producer of Walking with Dinosaurs, Tim Haynes, and the director of animation, Mike Milne, on BBC Online at www.bbc.co.uk/dinosaurs.
It was an extraordinary event. I mean, anyone who was anyone in pop and rock at that time was involved in Live Aid.
The BBC has always brought you the things that matter. Now experience the millennium with our special programmes and events.
Victor's pondering his liver in the lotus position. One foot in the grave on BBC1 in half an hour. This is BBC1. Now at 9 o'clock, the BBC News with Peter Sissons.
More government defeats in a final trial of strength between Commons and Lords. Peers refuse to back down. Disability cuts are sent back to the Commons. Russia's Chechnya onslaught. America says it breaks the rules of war. And lost for words in Ghana after the script slightly misjudges the mood. The House of Lords, doomed in its present form, isn't going quietly. In a crunch vote, rebel Labour peers, backed by Tories and Liberal Democrats, and a blast of defiance by Hereditaries, again sent back to the Commons key parts of the government's flagship welfare reform bill. The Lords' amendments object to certain cuts in disability benefits, and which affect the rights of war widows. The government vows it will get its bill, but time is running out. From Westminster, our political editor, Robin Oakley, reports.
Stand by, all telly addicts. The stars are preparing for a fun-packed new season on BBC1.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I do, Brett. Oh, that was nice. The Generation Game is coming back.
With plenty of fun and surprises.
And here's one now. Look out, Jim.
Cheers, Bruce. We'll be packing up our buckets and spades and heading back for a brand new series of Big Break, where you can pot as many balls as you can. Annika, your first challenge is to make him smile. Cop for this.
BBC1's first day. Well, I've been training all summer for my next series of challenge. I can tell you I don't know quite what to expect, except they all begin and end here on BBC1.
Join me in Crinkly Bottom for Noel's garden party. It's bright, it's colourful, it's the big one. You blobby, this one.
It's polling day in Strathblair in 30 minutes on BBC1, the day of reckoning for Andrew. Meanwhile, the Yorkshire trio, Compo, Clegg and Foggy, mark a sombre event in highly individual style, last of the summer wine.
Sergeant, arrest these men. They stole my berth and now they've stolen my salmon.
Captain Parahandy's in deep water and so are his crew.
Get that boat out of here before I keep our sons up!
Well, Peter McFarlane, you're obviously as big a rogue and scoundrel as ever.
The heat's on and the pressure's rising in the tales of Parahandy, Sunday at 8 on BBC1.
Don't leave me!
Just want to ask you some questions concerning your ownership of Wivey's Hall.
Those remains were buried about 10 years ago. About the time Adam owned the house and decided to take his summer off.
Well, be careful, Adam. Falling in love can be a dangerous thing.
Oh, the dead baby!
Would you forgive me? Forgive me anything?
Ruth Rendell's A Fatal Inversion begins Sunday, 9:05 on BBC1.
Now on BBC1, a drifter with a bad reputation arrives in town in this afternoon's film drama starring Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. The Long Hot Summer.
You, Donald James Woods, are declared a banned person in terms of the Internal Security Act.
How dare you? You're willing to tear our lives apart just to see Donald Woods on a book cover.
With Steve Biko dead, an editor faces a perilous flight from bigotry.
I can't believe I've gone this far, I just have to turn around and go back again.
Penelope Wilson and Kevin Kline star in the gripping culmination of Richard Attenborough's Cry Freedom, 7:45 Sunday on BBC1.
BBC2 will be off to Lords in 25 minutes for coverage of the day's sporting action from the Test cricket. And on BBC1 at 12:35 we've highlights from the final day's racing at Royal Ascot. First on BBC1, computerised crime provides that essential spark of excitement for Donald Sutherland in our film A Man, a Woman and a Bank.
The Day Today, on the Day Today asks the question, are these the real Birmingham bombers? Good night.
When you've got a problem,
He said to me, your tyres are getting a bit bald, you'll have to get new ones. I said, well, can't you do a sort of Robert Robinson and just comb the rest of the rubber?
and you need to talk.
What is the difference between being promiscuous and, you know, being an old slapper or something like that?
Mrs. Merton and Victoria Wood
She brought this beans on toast, freezing cold with the skin on the top. I said, do you mind if I take this off, make a handbag?
are here to help.
Is it lovely being up this late?
It is.
See the funny side of life with Victoria Wood and Mrs. Merton, Sunday from 9 on BBC2.
Giving the terrier treatment to another batch of headlines, Angus Deaton and teams are let loose again in half an hour. First, BBC2 explores another side to Steve Coogan.
Further tips for successful modern living from BBC2.
Sound of some domestic appliances can be...
Something unusual can become something fun.
You're a closet rebel.
But even something fun can lead to...
So you know what you're doing?
No. What the hell? Something Wild, starring Jeff Daniels and Melanie Griffiths. Tomorrow at 10 on BBC2.
On Sunday, Captain Kirk, folding his bones, parked the Enterprise. And fantasy football boys practice their team manager skills.
Fred, do you want to borrow these?
And then we take 50 single girls and 50 single guys and put them in one room.
100 people with one thing on their minds, and it ain't the economy, it's singled out!
Hi, Sherilyn. My name is Josh. I got what you need, girl.
Obviously, their weaponry is superior to ours.
Hey, we got what you need. Sundays will never be the same again. Yo!
Who's been sleeping in the knife drawer? The sharpened wit of the real McCoy in 30 minutes. Comedy Fast and Furious now on BBC2. Come in, Ed Winchester.
And the mouth of the Clyde spouts forth in the best of Rab C. Nesbitt, available now from BBC Video.
On Sunday, Captain Kirk, folding his bones, parked the Enterprise. And fantasy football boys practice their team manager skills.
Fred, do you want to borrow these?
And then we take 50 single girls and 50 single guys and put them in one room.
100 people with one thing on their minds, and it ain't the economy, it's singled out!
Hi, Sherilyn. My name is Josh. I got what you need, girl.
Obviously, their weaponry is superior to ours.
Hey, we got what you need. Sundays will never be the same again. Yo!
In half an hour, BBC2 brings you nothing but the real McCoy. But first, moving swiftly on, The Fast Show.
Celebrate Christmas and the New Year with some old friends. Unplug the legendary Bob Dylan. 70s supergroup The Eagles together again after 13 years. Tune in to the versatile sounds of Phil Collins. And the inimitable, groundbreaking Björk. Step into the new year with Jules Holland and star guests Eric Clapton, Supergrass and many more. And watch out for the profile of the godfather of Britpop, Ray Davies. For the best of the best, keep tuned to BBC2.
Can Joanna make the final commitment? Dangerfield on BBC1 shortly. In half an hour on BBC2, have I got news for you? And that's after a Trivial Pursuit.
For the first time on video, a compilation of the best bits of the Fast Show, available now from BBC Video.
A film over on BBC1 shortly, The Secret of My Success. That's at 10:20 in Northern Ireland.
You've wasted your life, you've threw it away!
Hey, why do you bother? Why don't you just float down the stream like everybody else?
Well, can't we figure it out? Them that are in charge can do what they like, and the rest...
Welcome to the reunion.
You seized the power yet?
Seized the power? You mean they've actually named officers? Has he talked about us? No, but somebody has.
Johnny, come on! Do something useful! Go to hell!
Our Friends in the North, Monday at 9 on BBC2.
Sketches and stand-up here on BBC2 in half an hour. Maxi Priest calls in at the Rub-a-Dub pub in the Real McCoy. On your marks now on BBC2 for The Fast Show.
Next week's clash relives the great rivalry between Steve Ovett and Seb Coe, which reached its climax at the 1980 Olympic Games at Moscow. Well, that's later, next Monday at 9:45.
The Olympic Games, the human race. Experience the agony, the ecstasy, the triumph, the defeat, the pleasure, the pain, the sight and sound.
Going for gold! And Gallo gets the gold!
With BBC Television and Radio 5 Live, exclusively live, the BBC, the Olympic broadcaster.
Why is Jennifer glued to the box?
I don't know! Here! Ring Judith Chalmers!
Could it be because she's chosen the programme?
Oh, tell me that I'm still asleep, that this is just a bad dream!
I love Lucy. I still laugh at that.
Yes.
And One Foot in the Grave. Jennifer's Comedy Zone, Friday at 9 on BBC2.
Choices?
Yes.
This is BBC2, putting the X into extra.
This Friday, a comedy zone to be taken seriously. Or we'll lay on the laughing gas, increase the gags, and let Dawn French get away with murder. Otherwise...
Yes.
Yes. Shona will apply the pressure.
Steve, just give me a Chinese bun!
Get high on the high life, or we'll send in the boys. The Comedy Zone.
Oh, dearie me.
Friday, from 9 on BBC2.
Starting on BBC1 in a moment, EastEnders.
Archaeologists have long argued about how the world's great monuments were built.
Solar power is the only way the Inca stone cutting could have been done.
That makes no goddamn sense.
But until now, no one had put their theory to the test.
You're going to put the obelisk up here and tip it over under the sand and then scoop the sand out these tunnels.
Right. It's crazy.
In 5 unique programs, the experts of today put their reputations on the line to solve some of the architectural mysteries of the past.
I have never seen the like of this, and I'm really quite upset.
Secrets of Lost Empires begins Wednesday the 29th of May on BBC2.
No need to get excited.
Am I excited?
Yeah.
I don't mean to, yeah.
What qualities do you look for when you're choosing a partner? Biologist Steve Jones says that the answers are all in the blood.
For the
bigger picture, turn to Andrew Graham Dixon's History of British Art, Sunday at 7:15 on BBC2.
In the Designs of the Time season, BBC2 invites 6 of the world's best architects and designers to take part in the unique challenge of creating everyday buildings.
Painted yellow, painted green.
From mail-order houses to public lavatories.
They don't like the colour either. Having to move so quickly.
GPs' waiting rooms to playgrounds of the future.
I should become famous for doctor surgery instead of Arab palaces.
The challenge is going to be quite something.
Can the creatives cut the mustard? Public Property, Tuesday the 28th of May on BBC2.
And the Designs of the Time season continues now on BBC2 with building sites, with some morbid views for prodigal son Damien Hirst, who returns to the Worsley Medical Building.
If this were interactive TV, Hollywood could sell its movies directly to your home.
Fabulous, huh?
Home shopping could mean you may never have to visit the supermarket again. But is digital television really the future of communication or just plain hype? The Business, tonight at 11:15 on BBC2.
In a new season of American cinema, BBC2 presents the work of directors who've strayed from the mainstream. John McNaughton's gritty collaboration with Scorsese Productions' Mad Dog and Glory.
Hey! There he is.
And from one of America's most gifted writers, Sam Shepard directs Jessica Lange in Far North.
I am not gonna shoot your horse!
Hollywood bad boy Sean Penn makes his directorial debut in The Indian Runner. And the season opens with John Sayles' highly acclaimed Passion Fish, a tribute to the filmmakers who still grasp at a spirit of independence. Discover the world of Mavericks, Sunday at 10 on BBC2.
Has Millie discovered a knight in shining armour, or is it just a fixation for older men? This Life, coming up at 9:45. First on BBC2, in space, no one can hear you dream.
A good family.
God, it's hot. The man in the supermarket says he heard that it's the hottest summer since 1900.
Bad memories.
Tell them, and they'll come and put Tom into care.
She's at peace now.
Entangled in a moral maze.
Just you and me. That's all the family we need.
From Ian McEwan's provocative novel, Screen 2 presents Saturday's film premiere, The Cement Garden, 9:45 on BBC2.
Have you heard the one about Billy Connolly?
You'll never believe this!
BBC2 wants you to spend an entire evening with him.
They do! They do!
Perhaps it's because he sounds funny. Or looks funny. Maybe it's his body language. It can't be his bad language.
You calling me
It must be because he's a stand-up guy. Point the finger at BBC2 if you'd like to spend an evening in with a big yin. This bank holiday Monday from 7:50.
French and Saunders go to the movies on BBC1 in 20 minutes for the now almost legendary versions of Aliens and Silence of the Lambs. This is BBC2, where in this week's episode of This Life there's strong language and scenes of nudity, and it helps to know the difference between fantasy and reality.
West, BBC2 presents a series of wild men, wild women, and wild westerns, starting with A Distant Trumpet, next Monday at 6 on BBC2.
Four couples fight it out in the film tonight on BBC2. Woody Allen turns his satirical guns on marriage, friendship and fidelity. That's Husbands and Wives in 40 minutes.
Helen's looking for someone who looks good in a towel. We prayed before we wrote the adverts. I was thinking, what would Jesus write?
We're looking really for a couple of girls to move in.
3 different households search for their perfect flatmate. Flatmates from hell need not apply.
It's a bit messy.
Can I have a look at the basement for you?
I'm going to be a primary school teacher. What do you look like in a towel in the morning?
Pretty damn good.
Flatmates, Modern Times, Wednesday at 9 on BBC2.
I couldn't live with any ugly people. I just can't relate to them.
Strong arm tactics, strong language. Now on BBC2, take your ringside seats for this life.
Newsnights on BBC2 in a couple of minutes after a short break for art's sake.
This Sunday evening, let BBC2 put the passion back into your life. A woman of substance.
The property of a family belongs to the men of the family.
In search of Mr. Right.
A man, certainly, but like no one I know.
From unrequited love to true romance.
The reason that Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip was that she was totally in love with him. It was without the slightest doubt a love match.
A double bill straight from the heart. Sunday evening on BBC2.
Each one of us must fight on to the end. Not only stupid, but criminal.
Sir Douglas Haig, butcher of the Somme or scapegoat.
I thought he was a good commander. Haig had no comprehension of what he was sending men into.
Using Haig's personal diaries.
To many, it meant certain death.
Veterans' eyewitness accounts and the latest historical evidence.
We must take him seriously as a commander.
Time Watch takes a fresh look at the Great War's most controversial commander. Wednesday, 9:30, BBC2.
This is BBC2, the channel that likes to live dangerously. Now, breaking with routine and bringing it home to you twice weekly. The X-Files. Because once is never enough.
A structural engineer is forced to take a second look at his skyscraper.
The building had a probability, which you might say was 50-50. Falling down.
It's as if you had the legs of a chair in the middle of the chair instead of on the outside.
Suddenly, Manhattan is a potential danger zone.
This building could have killed tens of thousands of people.
The Works, a compelling new arts documentary series, begins with All Fall Down, Tuesday, 16th of April at 8 on BBC2.
Illegal traffic.
We bought it on a first day.
We know these vehicles are there.
Organised crime.
It was stolen on a Sunday night.
From Britain to Pakistan.
Why can't we get them back?
Are you then involved in taking these stolen vehicles?
On the trail of the cross-continent car thieves. East, Wednesday at 7:30 on BBC2.
The Flying Aces finally find common ground in part 2 of the comedy drama Over Here on BBC1 in 10 minutes. Here on BBC2, Mulder investigates a strange case with very personal echoes of the past. The X-Files in 15 minutes. Before that on BBC2, a double bill of inspirational movie moments, including Oscar winner Nick Park in Close Up.
An average of 30 objects defying explanation are seen over Britain each year.
The objects were travelling at quite impossible speeds, like 4,000 or 5,000 miles an hour.
The government actually warned you not to pursue the matter further. In this programme, I want to reveal what Britain's Defence Ministry really knows about UFOs.
In the first of a new series, ordinary people give their real-life accounts of UFOs. Secrets of the Paranormal begins on Thursday, 11th of April on BBC2.
Now on BBC2, your grandmother wouldn't like it. A classic case from the X-Files.
Jessica Costello died in her apartment between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m.
One murder case comes to court.
All the evidence points to a single perpetrator who knew the victim.
A dozen alibis.
If you were so wrong about Mr. Cross's involvement, how can you expect the court to believe you're so right about Neil Avedon?
One lawyer put to the test.
Are you accusing me of something?
My sister's dead, your detective's dead, and I keep feeling like there's something really terrible going on.
Murder One, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, BBC2.
Strong language now as BBC2's new drama continues. Living dangerously. This life can be a real hassle.
I hadn't given up the previous 10 or 12 years to finish second in an Olympic final.
From Coe and Ovid to Borg and mild-mannered McEnroe.
We don't get to run into each other. That ball was on the line! The way rugby people do. Both sides piling in.
Winners have a bloody-minded determination that they want to be the best at what they do.
In a new 6-part series, BBC2 reveals the untold stories behind some of the great sporting jewels of the past 25 years.
I'm Norm. He's Admiral.
Clash of the Titans begins tonight at 9:45 on BBC2.
Now on BBC2, The X-Files.
On Film 91, I'll be talking to Francis Coppola about The Godfather Part 3, about his controversial decision to cast his daughter in one of the leading roles, and about his own remarkable career that one time or another has brought him 5 Oscars and near bankruptcy.
Francis Ford Coppola, a Film 91 special, Tuesday at 11:05 on BBC1.
And because there are regional variations in the placing of that programme, you might like to check in the Radio Times exactly when it's being shown in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Now here's a look at tomorrow evening on BBC2, which includes a few slight changes to the published schedule. We're on safari in Kenya at 7:15, where wildlife is big business. But for one man, safari driver David Mengo, the care and welfare of the animals comes first. Naked Hollywood at 8:05 penetrates a secret, tribal and competitive society, the harsh world of the movie agent. That's followed at 8:55 by a tribute to the prima ballerina assoluta, Dame Margot Fontaine, who died just over a week ago. And at 10, Screen 2 presents The Laughter of God, the chilling tale of an affluent but crumbling marriage in which both partners tempt fate by fantasizing the death of the other whilst engaging in extramarital affairs. The innovative music show Snub is at 11:30 with Rapido at midnight, and that's tomorrow night on 2. Just a reminder before we go that BBC1 has an early news report tomorrow morning, and that'll be at 8 o'clock. Well, the time is now coming up to 21 minutes past 1, and we're coming to a close. I, for one, completely taken up with thoughts of the Corleones and straining at the leash to see Part 3, which, as you'll know, opens this week. However, since it gives you a headache just to think of the queues, I imagine I probably won't be seeing it for some time. Not until I'm slumped in front of the box at home, doubtless, watching it on a much-used video with the frames jumping. Shame. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed our showing of Godfather Part 2 this evening, and I hope you'll be with us tomorrow. So from all of us on BBC2 and me, Cathy Stewart, a very peaceful night to you. Sleep well, and good night.
Passion and intrigue now, BBC2, with George Sanders on the trail of Nazi sympathisers in action in Arabia.
Imagine spending 18.5 years in prison for a crime you did not commit.
He is emotionally scarred.
I was just in bits.
Then having to live through it all again to clear your name.
It is painful that they go over all the lies that the prosecution want to cling to.
In a frank and moving film, BBC2 follows the Bridgewater men from their release to the result of their appeal trial to be announced on Wednesday, Judgment Day, 9:30 on BBC2.
The investigation of murder uncovers a violent racial motive, but against all the evidence, military man Robert Mitchum will stay loyal to a friend, whatever the cost. Crossfire at 1:25. Our season of movie tributes to Robert Mitchum continues now on BBC2 with a performance hailed as one of his finest in The Night of the Hunter.
What about a nice man for once? Someone you can talk to? Please. I hate talking. So intimate.
Most people only get one shot at this life.
What is your magic chat-up line?
I just look over their shoulder like I'm going to leave. Works every time.
BBC2 gives you another.
What's yours?
Get your coat, love, you've pulled.
This Life, Thursday and Friday at 11:15 on BBC2. This New Year's Eve, the party's on BBC2.
We've got sights and sounds and marvels to delight your eyes here.
With a musical lineup of Gershwin classics. Sparks fly with Tap Dogs and an exclusive.
And this is the Rolling Stones rock and roll, sir.
Stones from '68.
Happy New Year!
And in '97, the guests include Paul Weller, Mick Hucknall, Manic Street Preachers, Lighthouse Family, Tony Farino and more, all with Jules for the Hootenanny.
You're looking for trouble?
Even the King
You came to the right place.
is showing up for the party. Nobody brings you New Year's Eve like BBC2.
From the director of Forrest Gump, Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis star in the comedy fantasy Death Becomes Her on BBC1 in half an hour. Now on BBC2, the second and final part of Wilkie Collins' mystery tale of the Moonstone.
A vivid portrait of the human cost of civil war on BBC1 after the news, with dramatic and harrowing first-hand accounts of the suffering in the former Yugoslavia.
You want to know a tell?
A tell?
Give me your hand.
It's a dangerous game.
If I lose...
You aren't going to.
Are you sure you saw it?
Played with his ring, called a bet.
The sting is in the tail. David Mallett's psychological thriller, House of Games. This week's Moviedrome, Sunday at 10 on BBC2. The trick is having the confidence.
The Richard Eyre season of dramas continues now on BBC2 with Past Caring, written by Tom Clarke and first shown in 1986. Denham Elliott stars as a youthful 67-year-old with a taste for the good life, who's determined to grow old disgracefully.
The History Zone returns to BBC2. 4 nights, 2 angry kings, and a murder that shocked all of Europe. Unearthing the truth behind the Canterbury tale. Are these the bones of Thomas Becket? Meet the Ancestors relives the legend, but has the mystery finally been resolved? Painful memories in finest hour from those on the front line of World War II. The History Zone, bringing the past to life. Tonight at 7:35 on BBC2.
The familiar animals of our countryside are assigned roles. The predator is cruel. The prey is innocent. But in the real world of fox and rabbit, is there a villain?
Bad to the bone.
Challenging the preconceptions of a rural survivor. The Tale of the Big Bad Fox, Heart of Wild, tomorrow at 5:15 on BBC2.
Now on BBC2, a moment of dread for Eric. It's time for that father and son chat.
BBC Radio 1 FM plays the best new bands. For the most music, there is only one FM.
In the studio with me this week, former Massive Attack vocalist Shara Nelson in her solo debut. The 70s as you've never seen them before. San Francisco's Jelly Fish. The awesome songwriting talent of Roddy Frame and Aztec Camera. And legendary folk poet Leonard Cohen. After me, the story of a fading star. Classic documentary about the late, great Gene Vincent. The musical double bill starts at 11:15 tonight on BBC2.
On BBC2 now, Sylvester McCoy makes a final appearance on the battlefield as Doctor Who.
John Schlesinger's movie classic Sunday Bloody Sunday concludes BBC1 season at 11:20 tomorrow night. The unconventional love triangle involving Peter Finch, Glenda Jackson and Murray Head.
Yes, Gardener's World is back, with all the sights, smells and sounds of the season, not to mention a rich mixture of gardening. We'll be visiting beautiful gardens, building beautiful gardens, going to the shows, meeting characters, and asking pertinent questions.
You're giving me a picture of a Britain that's carpeted in moss.
There'll be plant profiles.
There's grass, grass, and there's grass.
And colour tips.
What a shocker. In the wrong hands, these sort of bright, shrieking colours can be very dangerous, can't they?
And plenty of vegetables.
My rocket's gone berserk. I reckon my radishes are even better than Jeff.
And of course, I'll be getting you stuck in with some dirty-handed gardening here at Barnsdale.
So join us for the first of the new series of Gardener's World at 8:30 next Friday.
And in this week's Front Gardens, the last in the series, Gay Search invites Robin Williams to turn a concrete desert into a beautiful, low-maintenance garden.
For more Front Gardens, watch Friday, 8:30 BBC2.
Big names and big films are coming your way this Christmas on BBC2. So why not take a seat by the fireside and cuddle up to Roseanne and Gina and Susan and Meryl and Kevin and Steve and Madonna. Oh, and Michelle. Join Thelma and Louise as they stir up a hornet's nest down south. In LA Story, see Steve Martin skate into trouble. Sit back and watch as Roseanne creates merry hell in She-Devil. In JFK, Gary Oldman and Kevin Costner investigate the murder of a president, while a certain pop star invites you to investigate her in bed. And in Frankie and Johnny, Al Pacino tries to get Michelle Pfeiffer under the mistletoe. Fireside films for Christmas on BBC2.
She's disgraceful.
Grace? Why is there another guy in bed with us?
It's just my ex-husband.
Hey, Puddin', how about getting me another cold?
She's disgruntled. She's Grace. Under fire in half an hour.
Another battle to prove they're top of the tree of knowledge now on BBC2, University Challenge.
University Challenge. Asking the questions, Jeremy Paxman.
Hello and welcome to University Challenge and to 2 more of the 24 student quiz teams who've qualified for the first round. Our first is from King's School of Medicine and Dentistry, part of King's College, which is one of the oldest and largest colleges of the University of London. It was founded by a royal charter in 1829 and today has 850 students studying dentistry and medicine.
Now on to Clint Eastwood's outstanding film drama about America's legendary jazz saxophonist Charlie Parker, whose onstage popular image belied a troubled private life. The film won an Oscar for sound recording, using Parker's original solos with the accompaniments replaced by the work of modern musicians. The network television premiere of Bird.
Music to the ears for Christmas on BBC2.
Why do stars fall down?
An all-time classic concert, The Carpenters.
Every chance you won't find.
Tony Bennett's Unplugged, and in the mood for jazz with guest K.D. Lang. The highlight of the country music year is the 1994 Country Music Awards, with stars including Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, Lyle Lovett and Little Richard, part of a musical Christmas with BBC2.
Now, I make a motion to officially call this disease Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome, or AIDS.
It was an epidemic which changed the world.
Why this happened? You doctor, how you don't know?
But in the early years, the biggest enemy was ignorance.
I used to be afraid of dying. I'm not anymore.
Ian McKellen, Matthew Modine and Richard Gere chronicle an epic struggle against prejudice.
Party's over.
And the band played on, Saturday at 9:30 on BBC2.
Juliet Stevenson follows in the footsteps of the writer Isabel Eberhardt.
Here, in the highest dunes of the Moroccan Sahara, I felt we were in the heartland of the terrain that drew her. Here, the mythic realm of the imagination is realized in the geography of sky and boundless distance.
Great journeys in 25 minutes.
One of Gracie's spinning plates is about to fall now on BBC2. She's under fire and under the sheets.
That was really...
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad we made up.
Me too. But if you really loved me, right now you'd turn into a plate of creamed herring and chocolate mousse.
I'm sorry, I don't think I can make any magical transformations for at least a half hour.
Next.
Grace, let's not fight anymore, okay?
You got a deal.
You? I love.
I love you too, Ryan.
Grace?
Mm-hmm.
Why is there another guy in bed with us?
It's just my ex-husband.
Hey, Puddin', how about getting me another cold?
Presenting the BBC2 Saturday matinee.
Isn't he beautiful? I'll just call him Pie.
From sweet, innocent days.
Is it true? The pie is mine? Oh, Mother! My, could the pie win the Grand National?
To bewitching nights.
I shall possess you, Rebecca, if I die for it.
I say burn this infidel.
I am innocent.
Spend the afternoon with a screen goddess. Elizabeth Taylor in National Velvet and Ivanhoe. Tomorrow from 12:15 on BBC2.
Now on BBC2, our series of tributes to Robert Mitchum concludes with racial tension uncovered in Crossfire.